Why were soap operas called soap operas?
Why, Jordan?
Because the content was there to sell soap. Did you
Wow.
know that?
No, it makes sense.
Welcome to the Friday Flow with Jordan, and let's go. Fact news and all the trends. Tune in now with your friends.
Good morning. And morning it is. It is 6 o'clock in the morning here in San Francisco, and we're doing this because Will's on the East Coast and he's got to run. Welcome.
Morning, Jordan. How are
Good
you?
morning. This is how you know we're actually dedicated to the Friday Flow.
Yep, that's right. I'm here in DC. I've been checking out a summit on data and AI policy. So fighting the good fight on behalf of Jordan and team. It's been a productive couple of days and excited to get back to the West Coast soon.
Awesome. Maybe next week we can actually talk about what you've been doing over in DC, because today on the Friday Flow we're going to focus on predominantly what I've been doing this week. But Will did join me on Tuesday, so it was the Stripe sessions this week here in San Francisco at the Moscone Center, and they talked about all things Stripe. Obviously, they have a lot of guests, but it is a big hype session for Stripe. Obviously, with the introduction of LLMs into a lot of their products, I thought today we could focus in on a few things that I found interesting. What do you think?
That's awesome. I look forward to it. And
Cool.
I managed to catch up a little bit on Tuesday. It seems like Wednesday they dropped an absolute dog of a product roadmap update. It was crazy the amount of stuff that they launched and noted.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. Actually, that was the one session I missed, but I did catch up on that because of our all hands. I had to
Keeping
catch
yourself
it.
honest. I liked it.
Had to catch up. Okay, so I'm gonna actually start out with workflow UI, and the reason I want to bring this up is this actually is not technically centered around AI and LLMs. This has been around since before AI and LLMs, or before LLMs, but I think AI has allowed a lot of flexibility and usefulness out of these workflows. And so when I'm saying workflows, I mean UI diagrams. So diagrams that people are actually creating, and I have some examples here. Some early companies that started this was Zapier, and so I'll share my screen and show you exactly what I mean. So here is Zapier's site, and this is just like a little screenshot of what they do. This is what I mean when I say a UI, workflow UI. And so this allows developers and non-developers to be able to create these workflows, inputs and outputs. They can have conditional experiences where, like, if
What would
the
you call this
person
style?
asks-
Is this no code? Is this some sort of semi-code?
I just call it a workflow UI because this technically is no code. Like what you're seeing on this screen right now is no code, but a lot of systems that do have workflow UIs allow for code. So it could be no code, it could be low code. So this is Zapier. Another new one that's pretty popular is N8N, which I've been told you pronounce it Nodemation. And then I've also been told you call it Nate.
I wouldn't have
I
guessed
don't know.
that.
I don't really know. I'm very confused. Google it. There's a lot of different theories there. The one that we use here at Woflow is Vellum. And I actually created a demonstration to show you what I mean by why AI is making these UI workflows more useful. So I've created a very, very simple decision workflow. And this is to take in an input from, let's say, a customer that says, I want a refund, and basically make a decision if we're going to go down the refund path or if we're going to go down another path. And so it's just a really easy example of how to make a decision. So I'm going to go ahead and use this text right here. Hello, I'd like to get a refund for my food because it was pretty gross. Okay, so it's going to go through, and this is a archaic workflow. So this is not using AI at all. This is actually just a straight decision. And so basically I'm saying this is kind of like in the weeds, but basically if it says refund in the text, so it's literally just looking for the word refund, then go down the refund path. If it's not, go down the not refund path. Okay, so that's like so basic, and it worked. You can see the green lights all the way to refund endpoint. But what happens when the user actually says, I want my money back? It doesn't say refund, right? It just, the intent is refund. And so if I run that, that's going to go down the not refund endpoint. So there you go. There's the downfall of these systems. I'm going to go to my second example, which is, okay, great. This flow worked okay until AI comes around and makes it 100 times better. So same exact type of workflow, except instead of that little like, does the refund word exist, I actually am asking AI, can you take the user's request and categorize it into either refund or not refund? Okay, let's check that one out. And again, let's go with, I would like to get a refund, just, for parity with the old one. This one does take slightly longer because it is using AI, but you can see it's gone down the refund path. And now let's go to, I want to get my money back. Okay, let's run that. And look, magically it goes down the refund path. So that was a little in the weeds, but I just wanted to give an example of why these workflows are actually becoming a lot useful. I think what's also really interesting is a lot of people that are using systems like Zapier already have these heuristic type workflows, these deterministic workflows where it's basically just looking for the word refund and then it goes down to flow. Because they're using no code or low code, they're able to just swap out that node. So that like one little thing in the diagram that basically makes that decision, they can just swap it out for like an AI node, and then the rest of it just works 100 times better. So a reason I bring this up today is Stripe just announced they've created a lot of their own workflow tools. Let me share. Okay, there we go. So yeah, here is the Stripe docs. They have come out with their own version of something of, like I just showed you, it'd be like a Zapier or a Vellum. And so this is giving the user the ability to create their own workflows here for payments. One of the great examples they used in one of the sessions that I went to was if the chargeback if the chargeback is more than $15, let it go to a human. Otherwise, just send the chargeback. It's fine. We don't care. And so you have full control over it. And this is a no-code experience. So this is somebody can come in and really make a workflow. And you can also have very custom alerts, like send to Slack if $100 was charged back, whatever you want to do. But this actually works with almost every single product within Stripe. So this is a very cool thing. But anyway, this kind of sparked my thoughts on workflows, like workflow UI in general, and why it's becoming more and more popular.
I think it's cool they launched this. I feel like they're a little late to the game. This is probably a couple years delayed, it feels like. It obviously makes sense that it's very complex for them to drop something like this on top of their entire stack and ecosystem. I'm sure there's a ton of merchants on Shopify and WooCommerce and BigCommerce, etc., that use Stripe and also need to think about chargebacks and things. I know it's a big part of what retailers discuss a lot of the time. They probably already use Zapier and stuff, so the hope here is that probably Stripe are going to get a bunch of people to migrate over to their platform. But yeah, it's interesting. It's cool. I think workflow UI is used in many business lines within an organization, not just on the technical side, but also across the stack. We ourselves use it on the sales side, and so an example is we have a form that captures demo intent on our website that people go to. That triggers a few Zapiers historically that come through our Slack channel and into CRMs and things like that. We have a very, to your point, dumb version of trying to filter that. So if someone comes in with a Gmail email, we don't bother showing it. It's probably not the highest intent sales lead, but we do get a lot of spam into that box, and that actually cuts it down a lot. We're actually migrating this workflow into our new CRM Attio, which has its own workflow builder in there as well. They also have AI steps in there, so we can be a bit more intelligent with the screening of potential leads, and then we can use that to enrich the data to make sure that this is actually a valid lead, and we don't need to go with that dumb heuristic of Gmail anymore. So I'm excited to bring that over into Attio and into a bit of a smarter flow as well.
So for anyone that's been trying to get a demo using a Gmail account, that's why you haven't gotten an email back. Is that correct?
I think it says add your business email in the little box.
Yeah.
So it's on them if they're not getting through to us.
Awesome. Cool. Well, yeah, that was Workflow UI. Again, not a new phenomenon by any means, but becoming more and more important as those nodes become smarter. So that's why I wanted to share that. Moving on to something totally different, still in the AI space, obviously. Devin, which is an AI, I guess you'd call it an AI engineer. There's quite a bit of those. But the purpose of Devin is it is supposed to be your junior developer. So on a development team with, between 2 developers and 2,000 developers, this is supposed to give you that added benefit of, hey, there's a lot of work that can be done by junior developers. Can we just let this AI developer go off and do that work for you? So let me share my screen. I'll show you a little bit. Collaborative AI teammate. That's much better said. Thank you. Thank you, Devin. But yeah, there's so many different AI development tools out there. We use Cursor. There's Windsurf. There's just a million of them. This one is supposed to be not actually a tool that works with you, but on behalf of you, I guess. So you're not just side by side working with it. You explain what you want it to do. It goes off. It takes an hour. It comes back, and it's supposed to give you its work. And so it's supposed to be just like a junior developer. And before this call, I told Will that we were going to talk about this briefly. And he just said, yeah, by the way, why don't we use them? And I will answer with, yes, we should. So I will try. I don't know how great it is. I've heard.
Let's go, Devin.
I've heard mixed signals, but they were at the conference. So the founder of Devin did give a talk at the conference, and just like any AI product these days, it's getting better. And so mixed signals, I'm assuming, will get better, and I'm ready to try it. What do you think?
Yeah, I love it. I gave Devin a shout out a few episodes ago. Sahil at Gumroad uses it a lot. They're pretty much an open source platform, and so they actually show all their PRs. You can actually go see all the ones that are being closed by Devin. It is now by far their largest PR contributor at Gumroad, and so I just had to quickly check in again as well on how they're doing. And I think, it seems like they're doing a great job. Here is their latest Gumroad statistics. This is Devin. This is PRs merged, 1,500 PRs versus everyone else on the team. They're seeing a lot of success with this. I'm excited for what we can do and checking that out.
Yeah, I'm down. I'm in. Let's give it a go. He, the founder of Devin, which is Cognition, is the parent company. Yeah, he said that obviously their code base is predominantly PRs from Devin. I don't know how this works, but he says every member of their engineering team, which is about, I think he said they have 15 engineers. They all use roughly 5 Devins. So it's 85 engineers.
That's amazing.
For, 15. So, how about this? I'll come back to the table next week and I'll let you know how it is. Or maybe in a few weeks. Because you have to
clearly
ramp it up
making
a little
it
bit.
easier to cheat on your coding interviews. I think we have to start trusting the AI coders instead. I think
True.
this.
Okay, true. Deal. Okay, one more thing that came up there's a million things that came up at the conference, but another thing that I wanted to explain was another service that we use here at Workflow. BrowserBase was on one of the panels. Paul, the founder of BrowserBase. I wanted to kind of explain a little bit about what it is, why I think it's important in the space. We did speak briefly about MCP recently, and that's a model context provider. No, protocol. Oh boy. Did I mess it up? I'm embarrassed.
It's a protocol, but
Protocol.
you got it.
Provided.
You got it.
Okay, cool. Great. The equivalent in the old equivalent of an MCP would be like an API. So basically services that allow you to interact with it through API, application programming interface. So it's your code is able to access data or make actions on behalf of whoever. That's an API. MCP is basically the equivalent for LLM. What if a service doesn't have an MCP? MCPs are brand new. Not all services have MCPs. And so how are we interacting with things that have been created for human consumption? Meaning, you are going on to Shopify to go buy something. This is probably a bad example because they have an MCP, but let's say you're going on to Shopify to go buy a thing. How can an LLM agent go purchase that thing? This goes into, Agentic commerce, which was a hot topic at the conference. But BrowserBase is essentially a browser for your AI. This is actually so simply worded, but this makes total sense. A web browser for your AI. So it's essentially a browser that spins up in the background, which isn't new technology, but the way that they've allowed AI to actually interact with it and allow us to be able to determine what's happening within that browser. It's basically just telling an AI what to do on that website. So instead of having an MCP pre-built for it, let's just use Shopify as an example. It's like a MCP already built, so they don't have the ability for your AI to just connect quickly into Shopify and say, buy this item with ID 123. It'll say, go to Shopify. It'll load up Shopify in this browser in the cloud. And it'll say, go find this product, click the buy button, enter in these credentials, or enter in this credit card, click buy, boom. So that's what BrowserBase is. So it's literally a browser. You tell it exactly what to do, or the AI will end up telling it exactly what to do to interact with things that have traditionally been built for humans to interact with. So now we have
a little bit like
machines
Operator, OpenAI.
Exactly. It is identical. This is just a purely for developers, right? This is an application, or not an application. This is a developer tool to allow your AIs to interact with anything on the web. So very cool. I thought Paul gave he was on a panel. He had some great answers. But yeah, I thought it was interesting. I thought also as a emerging technology, I do see more and more of these technologies coming to the forefront now, because not everything is accessible through MCP, or people are trying to figure out how do we just access anything on the web. And as the AIs get smarter and smarter, you can do more and more stuff that a human traditionally could do.
It's huge. There's always been a cat and mouse chase about should they allow bots, should they not allow bots on the websites. And it was an interesting discussion I was having last night actually at dinner. The old consensus was you want to try and block bots as much as possible. Because basically the advertisers that are on your website, they only want to pay for views that are done by humans. And so if you have a bunch of bots on your website, you are showing the cost per view or something to your advertisers, and it seems like it's super high viewership, but it's actually not. It's a bunch of bots. We spoke about this briefly last week with that analysis that showed that there's like a 1,200% increase in agents visiting websites. If you have a website today, go check out your Google Analytics. You will see that OpenAI and other platforms are leading places for where views are coming from. And now companies are seeming to go on the other side of this, where they actually want this traffic. It can kind of consider it, you want to be like SEO friendly for agents. You actually want to make your website agent friendly because you want to show up in the results on OpenAI and ChatGPT and Perplexity and everywhere else. So I don't know where this is going. I think advertisers probably need to change a little bit. I know that places like Cloudflare, which made their money on blocking bots, are now also kind of quickly trying to re-engineer how should this look. What's a friendly bot versus an unfriendly bot? What's a friendly agent? Really interesting, fast-moving space. I'm glad that BrowserBase exists. I think it makes a lot of sense for developers right now that want to build their own similar experiences to Operator, where MCP doesn't exist yet, or where it's just a better, more fluid result than maybe you can even get from an MCP. very, very exciting.
Totally agree. Will, you have one topic you want to discuss before I wrap it up?
Yeah, and it's a hot off the press news announcement, and it's that there's a new CEO at OpenAI. Don't worry, it's not what you think. It's not that Sam has been ousted for the second time. It's actually the applications CEO is coming on board. So Fiji Simo is the former Instacart CEO, and she brings a wealth of experience from commerce in general. And so she's moving over to head up applications at OpenAI. That's everything from ChatGPT through. And the goal there, according to the news announcement yesterday, is that it allows Sam to focus more on research, infrastructure, and safety. These are all very key parts of how they can continue to grow. Obviously, getting a great operator in to run their applications, because that is also growing like wildfire, makes a lot of sense. It is a little controversial though. Instacart obviously is doing very well. They're pressing ahead, I think, on an IPO. It's a huge role to move out of, and so obviously there's something that we all know is cooking over at OpenAI, but to get up and leave such a coveted spot as a CEO does give me a little bit of a question there. So interesting to see. Personally, I wouldn't think if that was a founder CEO at Instacart still that they would be leaving. Maybe this is a professional CEO kind of move. I don't think I would have seen a founder CEO doing that, but I'm sure it's going to help bolster OpenAI. But I think there's a little bit of what's next for Instacart. I don't think they announced it internally before this was announced externally. So like the new Pope, they're probably waiting for new smoke to appear over the Instacart HQ. Is it one of the other co-founders that's going to get tapped in? Is it going to be a new professional CEO that's going to come into the spot? I don't know, but this is all breaking news this week. What do you think, Jordan?
Well, I haven't read the article. You were the first one to tell me about it about 30 minutes ago. So my first question actually isn't about Instacart. It's more about OpenAI. The expertise that she brings, I mean, this is a huge role at OpenAI. And you said, yeah, Instacart's growing. Not like OpenAI. OpenAI is exploding at the seams, right? The expertise she brings, why is that what they're looking for at OpenAI in this specific role? I'm not questioning it. I'm actually like, okay, interesting that this type of data that she's just very, very familiar with and the customers, like, why is this what OpenAI thinks they want? What do you think?
Yeah, I think we talked about it a lot last week. It's always like we were prescient with this kind of news. The world is moving towards agentic commerce. This is another tick in the box. You're bringing in a really solid commerce operator to run the application stack at OpenAI. Get ready for it. Agentic commerce is happening.
I agree. There's another side as well that a lot of people don't think about on when you think of Instacart, and that's advertising too. I know for a fact that advertising is a much larger growth line at Instacart than you purchasing food at Instacart. So the ads are actually like really exploding, and so she might come with a vast knowledge of the ad space as well. So that's kind of a hidden feature there that I don't think a lot of people think about.
Yeah, I think it's only a matter of time until we see ads in ChatGPT. I think maybe not when you pay for Pro or you pay for a $20,000 a month plan or whatever they're anticipating, but certainly in the free model, you can absolutely see we're going to go back. Everything new is old again. Everything old is new again. We can probably end up seeing the 10 blue links in our ChatGPT response with all those sponsored flags.
Food for thought. I just told you that their ad revenue is the explosive line item for Instacart. But you and I don't even really think about ads when we're shopping on Instacart. That's exactly what OpenAI probably wants from their advertisements, right? Like, you don't want to think that this is somebody's paying for this. So that could be something that maybe she brings as like a huge knowledge piece.
Yeah, I think there's blowback to ads in general, right? People expect like free products to be free, and they don't really understand the business model, the economics to make that app free. I think Facebook is a great example of that. Zuck was on the Dwarkesh podcast last week, and he was talking a lot about this as well. I actually agree with him. I think if you know a lot about the person, ChatGPT knows a lot about you or me. If you know a lot about the person, you can actually display at the right time the right ad for that person, and that actually enriches the user's journey. So actually, Zuck has a lot of data that actually shows people use Instagram more if they have ads turned on and they have whatever the tracking is that they allow for showing more relevant ads to you. I actually see it as well now. I think like Instagram brings up in a kind of a newsfeed type app, brings up interesting stuff, and half of that is ads, and you're okay with that because it's actually very targeted, very relevant. So it's gone are the days of just the post an advert on television, not knowing who the hell you're targeting, and everyone sees the same ad for some sort of drug. Now into a much more targeted. It's scary how much you think that Instagram is like listening to your conversations with the frequency of it pulling up the perfect decision for you. I'm sure you see a lot of Hawaiian shirts on your feed. I certainly see a lot of things on mine. So you can imagine, how powerful potentially adverts and how targeted they can be on something like ChatGPT, where you are typing it into it your biggest, deepest, darkest desires and questions. So it really has everyone's ear. I can see it as like a very bountiful place for showing advertising. It's a great point.
Yeah, I agree. I would also say, I love advertisements because I buy quite a bit of stuff, and you nailed it. It's always a Hawaiian shirt on Instagram. Scrolling, I'll be like, oh, that's a great Hawaiian shirt.
If it has Hawaiian pattern, it has sloths,
click,
you're in.
Sold. Well, I'm gonna end with a little quiz here, or a little trivia question, and it's very relevant to what you just discussed. Why were soap operas called soap operas?
Why, Jordan?
Because the content was there to sell soap.
Wow.
Did you know that?
No, it makes sense. EastEnders, Coronation Street in the UK.
There it is.
Real soapy soap operas.
There it is. And with that, thank you for watching the Friday Flow.
Happy Friday.
Bye.